Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
So be honest, have you ever woken up trying to get ready for your day and you go into the kitchen and you look at the cupboard or you open up the fridge or the freezer, you're just trying to find something to eat, and maybe you see something and you don't know how it got there, but you say to yourself, that looks delicious. I'll eat that. Well, if that's happened to you, we've got a story this morning with a word of caution. And full disclosure here, how did we get this story? Well, one of my good friends sent me a text last week. He sends me a text. Here's the text. I'm looking at it right now on my iPhone. Here's what he says. So my dad accidentally ate a big edible yesterday. He panicked, wound up in the hospital overnight, but he's fine. So I said to my friend, this is a story. This is a story. We got to talk about it. And then he responds, you know who would be great to talk about it? My sister, because she's responsible for the whole fiasco. So on the line right now is Amanda. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hi, Elias. Thank you for having me.
I'm withholding your last name because I've also heard that your father is somewhat embarrassed over what happened. Okay, so I'll leave it at Amanda. You can add more to it if you want, but I know your dad's a little embarrassed about this whole situation. Why don't you tell our listeners, first things first, I've met your dad on several occasions. Why don't you tell our listeners about your dad, his age, what he does, what kind of guy he is?
My dad, well, he's 75 years old, working in sales his entire life, very successful at it. I would say a little bit like uptight of a guy, cautious about like living life, a little bit nervous. And, that's pretty much, who he is.
Okay. And listen, I think a lot of people listening will say, I've got a dad like that. So your dad wakes up one morning and he makes a discovery. And I have good word, on good authority, I hear you're responsible. Tell us what happened to your dad.
So I had accidentally left some edibles in the fridge that were unmarked. And it was like a bunch of chocolate. So he decided that morning to have some chocolate at 10, 11 a.m. Like, who has that much chocolate at 11 a.m.? And after eating the chocolate, he called my mother saying, I'm really not sure what was in that chocolate. I don't feel well. My mouth is really dry. I'm not well. I need to come home. And I actually just so happened to be at the house and I overheard this conversation. And when I heard him explaining this, everything clicked in my mind. And I was like, oh my God, no. He ate the edibles that I left in the fridge a few weeks ago. So I instructed my mother to go pick him up immediately. I'm like, Mom, you need to go pick him up. Like, he cannot drive home right now. Came home. I explained to him that he accidentally ate a lot of edibles and that he is just going to be incredibly high. So he panicked, and that's what really set off the entire fiasco of the whole edible trip. So I really think it was the panic of knowing how much edibles he took that created this entire fiasco.
Now, we have heard from various Montreal hospitals that since the legalization of cannabis, they have seen an increase of this, and it is particularly because of the edibles, right? So, right. Now you've made some reference here that this was a large amount that your father had consumed. It's just a little bit of chocolate here. So, I would imagine, doesn't it taste different? I never had this kind of stuff, right? So for your dad, was there any moment where he's like, this is not normal chocolate?
Well, my brother told me that he apparently thought it was like some European chocolate that tasted funny, but I guess it tasted good enough for him to eat the entire thing. Because he didn't stop at one square. He ultimately ate like half of a chocolate bar, which was maybe 100 milligrams or something.
Oh boy.
So, he ate the entire thing, even though it did taste funny.
100. So even I know that 100 milligrams is a large amount. We are with Amanda. Her father had an unfortunate incident where he ended up consuming an edible cannabis chocolate when he had no idea that's what it was. So Amanda, pick us up where we left off. And how your dad ends up at the hospital and the treatment and everything that happens from there.
So thankfully, everything's okay. I mean, we put him in the bedroom. He started then like hyperventilating. And then I have tripped out before in my life. I've witnessed my friends trip out before. But, this just looked completely different because I was able to tell that his mind was getting the best of him. So I called 911. The fire department came. The paramedics came. They, put him in the chair, wheeled him off to the hospital, and they ultimately just gave him like an IV, I think, at the hospital, and like some sort of anti-nausea shot, and he just really hung out at the hospital until he felt better. They took brain scans and heart scans, and he got like a really good checkup, and everything was fine, thankfully. So it was really just a hardcore trip out where his mind got the best of him. He thought that he was going to die, as most of us do when we're tripping out. But the paramedics just kept telling us you cannot die from taking too many edibles, and he will be okay. If anything, the panicking is more. Is the scarier part, but you cannot die from just taking a bunch of edibles.
Now, what's the family reaction? Is your dad upset over this? Is it become a nice funny joke in the family? What's your mom saying? What's been the aftermath of this incident?
So my father, I guess, isn't really taking it as funny as the entire family is taking it. We really cannot believe that this happened, that, at 75 years old, he has accidentally taken a bunch of edibles. It was pretty horrifying to see the trip out that he was going through. At the same time, it was a little bit, I can say, not frustrating, but it was a little bit frustrating to witness that this was all because of edibles, and he was having this huge fiasco and this huge panic attack. So it was a little bit amusing at the same time.
Now, Amanda, you keep putting the blame on the edibles, okay? But let me just point the finger. I'm going to point the finger at you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not the edibles. This is you. Do you feel any guilt here? And what have you learned from this incident?
I do feel guilty. I feel horrible about it. It was an honest mistake. I have learned that I cannot accidentally leave edibles in my parents' house. And I have learned that if you have edibles, they must be marked, because it was a chocolate bar and there was no indication that it was an edible. One of my friends was so kind and generous and gave it to me, and it wasn't marked. So had I had remembered that it was in the fridge or it was marked, then this probably wouldn't have happened. But I definitely do feel guilty, and I feel horrible that my dad experienced all of this. I am so thankful that he has made it out. Okay.
Well, Amanda, let's use this as a public service announcement for everyone listening about how to be careful with that stuff. And I hope you haven't asked him to reimburse you for the chocolates or to replace it. I hope you
It was expensive, but I have not asked him to reimburse me. I'll let him off the hook for that one.
Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing this story. Give my best to your dad, and I'm happy he's okay.
I will. Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it, everybody. And as I see on the text line from a listener, yes, you absolutely, positively need to label this stuff if you're going to leave it in your home. Everybody, be very safe. And also another note, it's not just for 75-year-olds. You got to be very careful with children in the house as well.